Wow, what a beautiful Tuesday morning. As much as it's cold, it's raining, but I want to thank God because this is the day that the Lord has made, and you're going to rejoice either way and be glad in it. A very warm welcome to Parenting Tuesday once again. As we continue with our last week's conversation, we asked a question. We're trying to answer this question: is homeschooling gaining popularity? And from the feedback we've been getting, or we got last week, I think it is gaining popularity. I could be wrong. So keep talking to us on 20316, our SMS line, or 0786 316 316. That's a WhatsApp line. But before then, I would just also like to remind you that today is a very special day, our Partners Prayer Day, a day that you can send in your prayers, you send in your praise reports if you have any, and just let us pray together. We have pastors here. I can also pray for you, so send in your prayer requests this morning. And also remember that we'll be having my colleague Cynthia on radio, who will be taking it up also from 9 to 1 p.m. in the celebration of music, where we'll also keep praying for you. So send in those prayer requests. Let's stand together as we trust God for breakthroughs, for miracles, and also just for Thanksgiving. So this morning, I'm super excited to be here with my guest from last week. Both parents who have taken their kids through, homeschooling. One is an education expert, the other one is an author, a parent, a wife, a mom, so many things. And so welcome back to this part 2 of the show, ladies, and thank you so much for making time. I think tuligusa some live wires somewhere, and people are like, that conversation must go. It had to go on. So karibuni sana, and maybe I'll start with you, Mary, introducing yourself again.
Okay, all right. Yes, my name is Mary Morioki. I'm an education consultant specifically for homeschooling and individualized education.
Yes.
I'm also a parent who has homeschooled children from kindergarten all the way to high school. So I provide a support system for homeschoolers and even schools. Like I work with some schools we do an individualized special needs program. So even schools are part of it. But I provide curriculum, I provide training for parents who want to homeschool, provide consultancy, tutors, resources online, networking with other homeschoolers, special needs education tools, and things like that. So that's who I am.
Special needs. Last time we touched on it. I think you just cracked the surface.
Yes.
Today we need to go deeper into that, because I think there was a concern also about that. But just before that, then Daktari, kindly introduce yourself to the people who never got to probably meet you last week.
All right. My name is Dr. Mudonio Mohango. I'm a parent of 3. I started homeschooling in 2002. So probably now, I think 22 years. And homeschooled our firstborn. She's now 20, so I'm 15 years I've been homeschooling her. She's now 22. And I have a 12-year-old and a 9-year-old that I'm homeschooling. I'm also a Christian publisher, and I'm an author of multiple books. And my passion is for the family unit. I love working with families, and maybe that's why we got into the homeschooling space.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Wow. So in last week's discussion, we really explored and delved into what homeschooling is all about, the challenges. I think we touched a bit on challenges, but there was a question, Mary, that it was about finances. Is it for the elite? Is it for the most privileged? And I remember there was a listener or someone watching a viewer who asked, her name was Frida, I remember clearly, is it just for the rich? And because of time, we were not able to tackle that. So please respond to that. Let's start with that.
Yeah, I would say that it's not for the rich.
Right.
But you definitely need resources. It's not like a free education system. You have to have some kind of resources to be able to, because you're not relying on any government or any subsidy from anywhere. You have to create you have to basically, it's your own education system, and then it fits your pocket. So for example, the lowest amount that you can use, I believe, would be like CBC curriculum. You just buy the CBC curriculum from the bookshops and you use that. or you get some free online curriculum. There are some free online curriculum online. That would be the cheapest way of doing it.
Okay.
But now you have to invest in the human resource. If it's you, the parent, doing it, you need to invest in maybe training, so that you can be able to be equipped on how to do it. If not, if you're not the one who's doing it, then you need to hire someone to do it for you, like a tutor. So there are some costs there. If you're doing it yourself, you're obviously not focusing on earning an income. Okay. So it means that maybe you're a one income family, your partner be the one earning a living, and then you be the home educator. All right. That was the model I used. I was not working, I was basically home education. Okay. But if you're working, then you can have someone to assist you. So there are some costs, but you can minimize them as much as possible, as much as it fits your pocket. Because even if you're getting help, you can share, you can say you want a tutor maybe twice a week. The rest of the time you do it yourself. Okay. So there's a way you can reduce your costs if you want it to be, if you're challenged when it comes to the costs. Okay. But for sure it's not free. And then it depends on the system you choose. If you choose a British curriculum or you choose an American curriculum, then the costs start increasing. Okay. So it's just like the way we have the normal school system. You have the public school, you have the private schools that are inexpensive. Okay. You have the private schools that are medium. You have the private schools that are extremely expensive. It's the same kind of model. You can just choose how you want it to be. Okay. Yeah, and probably Daktari, because Mary is talking about even the free online courses, would that compromise on the quality probably?
Not at all. I'll tell you this story. Right now, and I think I said this last time, the world is looking for practical solutions. Right. And I remember one time I was contracted by a big organization. And they needed me to have entrepreneurship, certificate to be able to do their green enterprise incubation. And I went online and I did those courses on entrepreneurship, and I got the certificate and I submitted, and I could do the work they wanted me to do. Right now the world doesn't care whether you got the certificate from X or from Y. Can you do what you're saying you are going to do? And I got the contract, and it was a big contract. The same thing, I look at it with homeschooling. Okay. I mean, we want our kids to be educated. Right. We want them to be able to write. We want them to be able to communicate. We want them to, have conversations, to be a solution to the world. Yes. Whether you get it X or Y, that doesn't matter. And so as a parent, if you do a good job, even with the ones she's saying online, some of them are actual training, it's actual school, actual content. It's just that because of the technology space we are in, these things that were in the past hidden are now accessible. And sometimes we are just like, no, it shouldn't be accessible, or why is it accessible? But the truth is, it is accessible. So it doesn't compromise on on the quality of the education unless a parent becomes negligent. And I think that's why you need consultant, because then like I said, homeschooling is not careless living. You have to be doing the right thing. So for a parent that is doing the right thing, it is actually very good education. Okay, fantastic. And so for a parent, Mary, who is interested probably in starting, to homeschool, what are some of the resources or support system that she may need to have, or
the initial thing, first thing is the parents need to understand homeschooling. Okay. Which is why I do a lot of consulting. People who are thinking of homeschooling, we meet and explain what is homeschooling, what does it entail. It involves you, the parent, to be extremely active, and you need to know, why are you homeschooling, what do you want? So it's not something that's out there that's already developed by someone. It's you looking internally, what are we planning for our children? Then you pick what is out there for you. So I usually have to kind of get them to think inwards first, and then understand what is homeschooling. It involves your involvement, how much time do you have? It involves resources. It involves a community. How can you plug into the community? Then which resource, and then the costs, and then the commitment.
Okay.
For how many years are you committing this to? Is it until the children grow up?
Yeah.
Is it temporary until you transition into something else? So I get them to think that way, so that they don't think like when you're going to a school, you know the school has already decided everything. You just enroll your child and then you leave that to the school.
Right.
But when you're homeschooling, you're the school. So you have to answer the questions. Which curriculum? How much time? Who is going to be taking the child to back and forth? So parents have to realize that.
Okay.
And then know, okay, this is what homeschooling is involved in, and then this is, are we ready to do that, and who's going to do that? So as a couple, who is going to quit their job? Who's going to quit their career?
Sacrifices have to be
Who's
made.
going to sacrifices have to be made? So that's the first thing.
Okay.
Parents need to understand what is homeschooling and the commitment that's involved, and everything that's involved. Secondly, you need to make a choice.
Okay.
Which curriculum are you using based on your finances? Then you need to plug in. Where are you going to plug into the community?
Okay.
And then you need training.
Okay. As a parent.
So those are the big things.
Okay.
The first things. Then the rest goes it comes as you go.
Yeah. Okay. Daktari, why do you think there's so many parents then right now actually? Because even from the questions we received, and when you just look around, why there are so many parents now trying to plug into homeschooling today?
I think when you go back to how God intended for things from the beginning, parenting or schooling is actually a core parenting or a core parent's responsibility. And I think we are getting to that space more so because of the access. You know, once we've seen Mary has educated her kids, they are 33, we're like, oh, it can be done. So we also have many more examples of kids who have gone through this process. And they are actually, you know, contributing significantly in our society. And so because of the examples, like I know just from our firstborn daughter, I've brought over maybe 15, 20 parents into homeschooling, not because I told them to homeschool, but they are like, you know what, God has spoken something like this, but now I see someone who has an actual person, an actual child that I know who has gone through this process. So most people do not want to try new things or, you know, uncertain waters, but once you've seen a ship has gone and come back and it is okay, so I think because of the there is confidence because of the examples that we have, and we have very well-educated kids who were homeschooled, who are doing well in society, who are advancing their careers, doing amazing things, and so those examples are actually contributing to the space that we are in right now.
Okay. Mary, do you think because you've been there, both of you actually, do you think homeschooling is actually meeting the requirements and even the standard that have been set by the Ministry of Education in Kenya?
Yes, and beyond.
And beyond, because you're not, you
see, the Ministry of Education focuses a lot on the academic aspect of education.
Okay.
And how a child can get high marks in maths, in English, in science, how you can go into STEM or humanities. And that already, there's a lot of resources for that. Homeschoolers pick whatever resources they want, and all those resources have all those different subjects.
Okay.
So that's usually the first thing. And then there's, within each curriculum that you're using, there are assessments, continuous assessments, there are tests, and then there are those summative exams that you do at the end. So those ones usually are already approved by the Ministry of Education. CBC is approved, British curriculum is approved, there are many different curriculum that's approved, and those that are not, like you could decide to use the Finland curriculum or the Swedish one or Canadian. You know, it's not necessarily approved by KCD, but if you use it and you get your certificate from them, you can go to KNQA, Kenya National Qualitative assurance. What they do is they equate your certificate, your foreign certificate, to the Kenyan equivalency of KCSE. And now in future it will be the CBC one. And then they give you a grade based on that. If you were to do CBC or KCSE, you would have gotten this grade. Then you can take that equivalent certificate and use it to enter into any of the universities here. So there's a way that they can still benchmark what you're doing by going, if you plug back into KNQA. So otherwise there's freedom to use whichever curriculum you want. When you're a homeschooler, you're not confined by any government rules or anything on what you need to use. but what you use is what is accessible to you, and then you add on a lot more, because we use a lot of character development, talent development, interest, which are not necessarily in the academic curriculum.
Okay.
So we add a lot more than what is even required.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah.
And you know, when you talk about that, and we're looking at these children who are so empowered, but Daktari, I'm just wondering, and I think someone watching also from the rural areas could be wondering, would urban living parents do a better job or benefit more from homeschooling compared to a parent in the rural areas?
I think my underlying principle is homeschooling is not a privilege, it's a priority.
Okay.
So what is it that you want for your family?
Okay.
It has to go back to that. Whether you're in rural setting or whether you're in urban setting, I think that's not really the question, because also homeschooling allows you to even be in a remote space.
Okay.
So I mean, it's not an issue of urban or rural.
All right.
It's an issue of priority. What do you want for your? So it's not a privilege way of schooling children. It's a choice you have to make as a family.
Okay.
And so even for a parent who is in the rural setting, you can still homeschool.
But I think the resources there are, you know, they're not the same level. They're not at par when it comes to resources. Digitally, the materials, how does that work?
Okay, yeah.
Let me share something. You see, yes, they are not the same. They're not equivalent to being in an urban setting.
Right.
But there are a lot more resources that they have that we don't have in the urban setting.
Okay.
For example, in the COVID, that year when we had COVID, many people went home and just had to just wing it with homeschooling. And I remember there was a case that came on TV of a parent, a pastoral family, whose children were at home, and they incorporated their children in their pastoral lifestyle. So their children used to go out and take the cattle out there, feed them, and the father, who's I believe a Maasai, was educating the children on how to tell when one of the lambs or whatever is sick, and the natural treatment that they use. They would go to the forest. He taught them about the herbs, what to give the animal. They were well. So the children became like
so the agricultural bit of it or something like that.
Agricultural experts, and they were plugged into the family business.
Okay.
And that kind of education is a practical thing that we completely miss out on when we're in the urban setting, because we are trying to imagine. We don't have a lot of practical application of what we are learning.
Okay.
But for them now, the science was live, the math was live, the environment was live. So for them, I believe they gained so much more than a child who was just at home on the internet or whatever, plugging in online. So they have resources that we don't have. We have resources they don't have. So it's a matter of just taking advantage of your environment, what you have, make the best of it.
Okay.
Yeah, but you can still successfully do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Terry, you still have something to add?
Yes, I wanted to say, like if you decided to use the CBC curriculum, you can, if you're in Embu, you can buy that curriculum from the Embu bookshop. I don't think if there's something like that.
Yeah.
But wherever you are, you can buy what you need.
Okay.
If you want to use, let's say, like as we use American Online, I mean, you just need to buy data or to have Wi-Fi. Assuming you're in a remote place where there is no Wi-Fi, just know that the cost for me homeschooling my kids is this X number of GBs every month. Right now, because of access, we have internet, we have Safaricom, for example, getting to as many places, or Airtel getting to as many places. We have MiFi. You can buy that MiFi. It's 2,500, and you know this is the amount of airtime I'll be loading. Okay. And your kids in somewhere remote place in rural setting will have same access as my child who is in Nairobi. So I think because of where we are right now, technology advancement, infrastructure that has been put in place in terms of internet and all these, any child can get access to the same things that an urban child is getting. And so, and I like what she has said. I also encourage parents, please carry your kids along in what you do on a normal, daily basis.
Right.
So like as we are publishers, we carry our kids through the publishing. They might not turn out to be publishers, but in my publishing engagement, I'm able to have learning moments. So like I say, if I'm going to speak to a big crowd and I tell my kids who I'm a bit nervous, we pray together, then I tell them, so here are my talking points. We discuss that in the car. Now, the time they'll be called to maybe a speaking engagement, they've already learned how to be speakers.
Yes.
If you're like you're saying, this family has cows, use the cows and that lifestyle to be able to teach your children.
Yes.
So you pick the homeschooling or whatever curriculum you want. Then now, because we also want to empower our kids with more than the academics, don't even go out, don't even try to be like the next door neighbor homeschooling. What is the strength in this family? I call them systems of advantage. Every family has a system of advantage, something that comes naturally to you that does not come naturally to the next family. So instead of cut and paste what another person is doing, look at your system of advantage and implement that and plug your kids into that.
Fantastic. Your system of advantage and plug your kids into it. What an amazing point to just get us to the first break of this morning show, parenting show, Parenting Tuesday, where we're discussing or trying to answer this question: is homeschooling really gaining popularity in Kenya? And initially when we started the show, I started by saying today is our Partners Prayer Day, and indeed we're here to work with you, to pray with you, just like you've been doing it with us for the last 25 years, partnering with us and praying with us, holding our hands. So today is our turn to bless you with prayers. Let's send in those prayer requests. Let's send in the praise reports, because sometimes it's just about praising the Lord and thanking Him for what He has done for us. And that's why we're going to take a break. We'll be right back after the break.
We are living in a lost and broken world, constantly bombarded by messages of hate and atrocities. But with God, we can overcome. Find hope and restoration on the go through life-changing shows on the Family Media app.
And then you will lose yourself and gain the world. And Jesus said, what good is it?
Get to stream Family TV and Family Radio 316 straight from your phone. Catch up on a show you missed or create video streaming playlists by saving and watching videos from our huge variety of shows at your own convenience. Download the Family Media app, available for all Android and iOS users on the Google Play Store and Apple Store, respectively. Family Media, keeping Jesus on the airwaves.
Keep praying, keep trusting in Him. Have hope. The moment you lose hope, then all is gone. But until then, God is not going to give up on you. An amazing, amazing song, or can I say an amazing prayer? So keep sending in those prayer requests. And by the way, on the last Friday of this month, that will be on the 30th of May, we'll be having another live prayer circle, just like the one we had last month. So if you missed that, kindly plug in this the end of May, 30th of May. It will be a great worship experience, just laying everything at the feet of Christ as we lift Him up. So join us on that day as we have a live, entertaining, fantastic praise and worship, session in the prayer circle live event. It's something you don't want to miss. Make sure you're there to plug in. We'll be live on all our socials, and if you have any, prayer requests, even then you can send on 20316 SMS line. 0786 316 316 is our WhatsApp line. And just before the break, ladies, Dr. had talked about something which Mary wanted to add onto in terms of technology.
Yes. Yeah, I wanted to say that, she mentioned that technology is so advanced nowadays that we're able to fulfill the gaps that were there before, when somebody being in a remote place has no access to a lot of things because of technology. But actually, now that technology is reaching a lot of remote places, I have worked with families who live like in Marsabit, in places that are remote, but because they have internet, we're able to use our teachers who are available in Nairobi to teach them, online.
Okay.
So they have access to everything that you have access to in Nairobi, only that it's via online.
Oh, it's
so if they want to
virtual.
learn music, they want to learn chemistry, they want to learn whatever, as long as you have technology, you have access, even though there are no
Fantastic.
teachers out there.
Okay,
Yeah.
fantastic. I think that's a good way of responding to that. So we go to our socials, and there's something I'd seen earlier, a question from Frida. This is Frida, and last week she was plugged in, and she is asking a question. Good morning. If a parent has a busy schedule, does homeschooling allow families to come together to combine their children and teach them, Mary?
Yes, it does allow families to come together. You can, it's like the way you hire a teacher and you get help. You can help each other as families.
Yeah. Okay.
If I'm working and you can take my children and teach them for a certain number of days, and I can do the same. So you can definitely combine. But what that does is also they socialize. You get a bigger circle of socialization. You get use of combining resources. If you, for example, hire a teacher, you can both share the cost of that teacher.
So it's
you can
cheaper.
share even books, reading books. You can have a little library of books, and all your children are reading the same books.
Okay.
Yours and mine, so that combination also helps.
Okay.
You can do group activities. So it does help. What we do is we call those cottage schools, because now it ceases becoming exactly homeschooling in terms of you, the parent, and your own children.
Okay.
It becomes more like a community, something. And
Okay.
sometimes it can get really big.
Yeah.
I had one of those when my children were young, and it got really, really big. We had to kind of just break it down into something else.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I think we'll talk about the importance of community, because I've heard the word community in homeschooling quite a bit.
Yes,
I think it's
there is
important
that.
to also talk about that. Daktari, as someone is saying, good morning, family. This was a wise idea to have a continuation of this topic. Are there some homeschooling methods that can be adopted by the traditional schools, Daktari?
Yes, I think we are in a time where people are allowed to be or allowed to dream. So even as a school, I've seen a friend's school where they've even combined, they do the small kids, they've combined 844 and Montessori.
Okay.
And it's just for you to understand what is required of you by the government, so that you make sure you're law abiding now that your school is registered, and there are things you must do. So this is a space where, a school, especially if it's a private school, where maybe the board can make some decisions, where you can say we are maybe 844 school, or we are, whatever curriculum school, and then you say, can we also supplement and bring in this other, option, because you want your kids to be more well-rounded.
Yeah.
So I think for a traditional school, I would say, please make sure that you follow what is required of you, based on your arrangement or registration with the government, so that you also don't, run in trouble.
Okay.
It's not the same, the government laws or education laws will be more strict for a traditional, if you call yourself a school, as opposed to a homeschool.
Okay.
Because you see, homeschool, it's my family, I'm making the decision for my family. If you're a school, you've been tasked with the responsibility to make decisions for many other families. So there it's a little bit different.
Okay.
So I would say, but I know so many schools that
you can
supplement,
integrate.
integrate and bring in other options to make sure that the kids are getting what you're seeing. Yes.
Fantastic, because I think you've responded also to number 2. Can the CBC be adopted to homeschooling and work? I think that's part
Yes,
of
and
what you
Mary, I
responded.
think, has said that
Yeah.
So there are
twice.
people who homeschool with CBC.
Yes.
But like I said last time, CBC content is too shallow to sustain you for the whole year.
Okay.
Because when you're teaching a child one-on-one, you cover a lot more content than when you're in a school.
Okay.
So you find that by the time you started in January, in June, you've moved from
finished the
cover to cover, you finished. So what we do with CBC, you look for other resources to add on.
Okay.
So that either you drag it out or you finish, and then the rest of the year you use some other things.
Okay.
Like online, free online resources, practicals, you do other things to add on to
All
CBC.
right. Okay.
But also I want to add to that about the adapting other homeschooling methods.
Right.
I have worked with a school where we have adapted homeschooling with the special needs because it's a school that is inclusive. And so the children who have special needs, they're a bit slower, they need more time, they need more effort to catch, were just being left behind so much in the classroom. So what we have done is we have taken them out of the classroom to teach them one-on-one, the homeschooling way, individualized education. But they're still within the school setting. But we teach them one-on-one, and we give them time to work at their own pace. We don't insist that they follow the curriculum. They have to finish, they have to do the exam. We just go by child by child. So you can still take those methods that we use in homeschooling and import them within the school. If the school is open enough to allow you to work freely with them like that one-on-one, you can.
And talking about, individualized, because there's a question I was to ask you in terms of, is it possible to tailor make, a curriculum for a child according to their needs? And I think you've answered that.
Yes, and even let me add, apart from working with a child at their own speed, their own pace, you can even change the delivery method from just lecture style or auditory learning to visual to kinesthetic. Kinesthetic means doing. You're teaching by doing. And auditory, you're teaching by showing pictures or videos or demonstrations visually. Because in the typical classroom, the teacher is teaching, it's auditory. And not all the children are auditory learners. Some of them, they struggle. I can hear, but I need to see. Others, you need to demonstrate for you to grasp.
Even grown-ups, actually.
All of us.
Adults.
So we are not made, we are not made into auditory learners, but the traditional schooling method of teaching is usually auditory.
No options.
Some try, they do some visuals here, some practicals here, but they're not enough. There's some people who need more practicals, more visuals, and less auditory. And a lot of reading. Some people just can't read, but maybe if you give them an audio tape, they would listen and they would grasp more than having to read using their eyes. So we adapt the way we teach to children more in learning styles, their pace, and even their level. If a child wants to move quickly, move to the next class. You don't have to wait for December or January to move to the next class. In June, you're finished grade 1, you can move to grade 2 in June, July. So adapting, individualizing, that's what it means. Adapting to the child's need.
Fantastic. Daktari, you've done this for years. What are some of the challenges that you've experienced in this journey?
Of course, when we started, it's just the stigma. And backlash from family and friends. I remember some of our family members were not having it. Just like, umeshindwa kueducate mtoto. Just, we can come together as a family and pull the resources, so you take your child to school. Like, no, it's not that we are not able to take the child to school. This is the choice that we have made, and I'm very happy that, that stigma is not as much, but it was quite significant when we started in 2012. And you just find that you're alone, like there are not as many families. And I thank God that has also changed, because now we belong to this community. The homeschooling community is actually a significantly large community, and you can belong to different communities. Before it used to be this curriculum community, this curriculum. Now even we have a community that is, we don't care what curriculum you're using. So I think also that we've been able to scale through. Then there was the challenge of exit plan, where, so your child has been doing this, curriculum other than the British curriculum, which was, there are exams that you can do with the British Council, and that one was clear. If you use any other, curriculum, there was the issue of, so what will be the final exam? How will they enter into university? But now there are so many exit plans. You can even do an exit plan with an institution in America or in the UK. There's so many solutions right now. So I'm also very happy that has also, that a challenge has also been mitigated. And then finally, I would say also the local universities receiving homeschooled kids. That was also a big challenge. So you just initially, like, if your child finishes in homeschooling, so probably you might have to look for a university or a college exchange out of the country.
Yeah.
But right now, I know quite a number of kids who are in, our public universities.
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking at the end of the day, if it is done well, there are so many challenges in the last 10 years that have been covered. And I thank God for that, because that's a huge development.
Amen.
Yeah.
And I like what you've just mentioned about universities, because the last week after our show, I passed by a certain university, a private one, and I asked about homeschooling. So how do they said yes, we actually take them, and I was like, wow.
Yeah.
So it's really exciting. I'm not a homeschooler, but I'm excited for you guys. Anyway, there's a long feedback here. Let's just read this. Mary, you want to say something?
Yes, I want to say something along those same lines.
Okay.
Actually, I wanted to share that there's an event happening on Saturday.
Yes.
And we have a visitor coming into Kenya who is the founder of Lasenda Global Academy.
Okay.
It's an online school for the American system. And she's coming in. The event is on Saturday. It's actually from 1 to 4 o'clock at the All Saints Cathedral.
Okay.
And she's coming to share about the exit plans, options for exit plans in the American system. You can finish your 12 credits. That's something like, it's like, say, the TVET. You're going into the TVET way. You're going to the business, so you don't have to finish at a very high level. You can finish with 24 credits, which is maybe aiming to university.
Okay.
You can do what we call dual credits, which is you're studying your high school and your university courses at the same time.
Okay.
From grade 9 to grade 12. You can start doing university courses.
Okay.
You can finish, if you are one of those students who can do both, you can finish with an associate degree as well as a high school degree.
Okay.
This is now American system. If you're using this program in a school, like a CBC school or 844 school, you can do what we call dual diploma, which is you do the Kenyan system and the American system at the same time. So we are assisting parents to understand there are so many new options, plenty of options, schools, homeschoolers, and then you can also even enter into American universities while you're here and study even the first 2 years online. So that's what this talk will be about. So, yes.
Okay, because now, because of time, then I may want to delve into, our interactions online. Hi, Dr. My name is Stanley, and I own a small private school. Our aim is to provide affordable quality education to the common mwananchi, and I have been thinking about introducing either the British curriculum or American curriculum, but I find the cost quite prohibitive. How can you assist? Also, can you please provide those free online sites? Where can we get the resources? Thank you. So I think this is for both of you. You may be able to respond to that very quickly because of time, so that we can at least try and handle as many of this as possible. So Dr.
So I'm just thinking, I'll go back to consultancy. I've also done consultancy, but I consult for authors and all that, and I see what consultancy, it's guided, it's mentorship, it's guided decisions. So even when he says I find British or American expensive, I would beg to differ, because it just means I can't even respond to this straight on, because I want to understand which British and which American he's talking about, and that's why you need a consultant. So I would just think Stanley should meet up with Mary, then they have this conversation. Because if I run a private school right now, I can use one core curriculum, and then I can supplement with many other, free resources. But you need to be able to sit down and have all this information before you actually start. Because if I tell you take British curriculum and you just go and say this is where you get it, you've missed out on many other options that are out there.
So in short, we'll just share the number. We'll share Mary's number, Stanley, with you, and then you'll be able to have, a wider and deeper conversation when it comes to that for better decision making. And I have someone here saying, hi, Sally, good conversation right there. You have touched on the good side of homeschooling. Let the panel tell us the disadvantages of homeschooling.
There are so many.
So maybe respond to that. And also for a parent who failed in their studies and they want to do homeschooling and they have no money to hire someone, how would they advise such a parent? right, Mary.
Okay, so I'll start with the first one, touching on the good side of homeschooling. Okay, some of the disadvantages I went through is just like what Dr. shared. When I was starting to homeschool, it was a concept that nobody had heard of it.
Right.
And having lived overseas and coming back, people are saying, what are these foreign ideas you've come with? You've brought things that are not applicable in Africa.
Yeah.
And so getting people to accept, to understand what you're doing, to even embrace, to even encourage you, it was very difficult.
Right.
People are very negative. Family, friends, and until they began to see the results, and then they're like, okay, this is it looks interesting. The other challenge was a community. If you're not able to plug into a community near you or somewhere where you have access to, even if it's online, it's difficult because your children feel like, I don't have any friends. I don't have anyone to play with. I can't do my sports, I can't do my music, I can't do all these other things I want to do. So the plugging to the community, if you need to look for it, and then it's not ready-made, you have to look for them. You have to look for where can I get a contact, where you have to invest your resources, your time going, and then when you find them, you have to drive all the way to there and back. Okay. So it's not a ready-made community like the way in school, where you just come out of the classroom and all the children are there to play with. You have to make that extra effort. For the parent, you have to invest in educating yourself. Investing in getting to know more so that you make the right decisions.
Okay. Yes. And I think because of time, then we may have to just, have your parting shot, Daktari, very briefly talk about, your parting shot to our viewers.
Okay, so for me, I say don't walk this life alone. And there are solutions for whatever level you're in. Okay. So just find your tribe and start to research, investigate, and make decisions that are informed. Right. I have a program I do. I do not consult on homeschooling, but I empower parents, where I bring together parents and put up resources, even show you where the free resources are, how to make routines and do that. Right. So I have a program that is starting on Wednesday next week. You can check me out. I am Mudhoni or Muhango on all social media platforms, and follow if you want to. This is not consultancy. Now, when you need consultancy, I'll tell you go to Mary. Okay. Yes, and right. I'll bring Mary in one of those. Yeah.
Fantastic. Because of time, please allow me to end the show right there. But I want to mention something that I think it is 2 days ago or so. There was the homeschooling team won the inter-school golf tournament. They actually, that was awesome. I saw it like 2 days ago. Wow. So homeschooling is working. They're socializing. They're doing well. They're all rounded. So if you're considering that, then please go for it. I'm already talking about Tomorrow Matters Financial NCBA. Go for it. That is tomorrow. But however, go for homeschooling. I think there are questions here. And if you still have more, please send in those questions. We'll share the number of the consultants who are here, the experts, the parents who've gone through it, because really we are saying it's working. God bless you and thank you so much for your time. And also not forgetting our partners who've been holding our hands, as I said, for the last 25 years, ensuring that we bring you this very impactful, content to change lives out there. We want to say asante sana. And if you want to be part of this team, part of this community, what we've been talking about, you can send the word partner to 20316. That is our SMS line, or 0786 316 316, our WhatsApp line. Send the word partner, we'll be able to reach out to you. And for any kind of support, you can do that on paybill number 316 316. Account number shall be your telephone number. God bless you and keep you. See you again tomorrow on Matters Finances. We'll be talking about financial literacy for our children. Still, we're talking about children. God bless you.